Eli Hemming, welcome to the Running Long podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here.
It's good to see you. I should have said your name with David Heller's voice. I always remember when we used to have like Golden Trail Series presentation and David would yell your name and it's Eli Hemming. So funny.
Yeah, he always has a way of making it exciting.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not as good. How are you doing, man? It's good to see you. It's been since Chamonix, I think. We probably had a little exchange on Instagram here and there, but it's been since our race at OCC that I have seen you. So how has it been since then?
Yeah, it's been really good. I had a nice little break after OCC. It was kind of a forced break. My body was pretty tired after that one. I think I got some like low grade heat exhaustion from that. But it's been pretty good now. Getting back into another training block. Uh, just trying to get a little bit of leg speed back after a big mountain season. So just kind of having some fun. It's getting cold here in Colorado, so bundling up everywhere.
How cold is it so far?
So we've had a couple mornings that have been in the single digits. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. It's very cold,
Kind of
but
nasty temperature.
I think this morning it was about 20 degrees
Mm.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so definitely not ideal for training, like pretty cold for my standards.
Yeah, no, there's been a few days that I've wimped out and gone to the treadmill
Yeah.
because the roads are icy. You don't want to run there. Can't run on any of the trails because they're covered in snow. So it's a tough time of year to train.
Yeah. So I was reflecting how I think we managed the post OCC time in two completely different ways. Like you took time to rest, and I was like trying to exploit the fitness that I had from OCC and carrying over to do other races. Like I went to Julian Alps in September, and then I did this 75K trail race in Italy to close my season in the first half of October. So like very little rest after OCC. But then I decided to like end my season sooner than you. And
Mhm.
you instead decided to take advantage of some recovery after OCC and then put in another pretty big training block for whatever is next.
Yeah, yeah, no. So it's I mean, I think it was kind of with how early I started my season, I needed a
Hmm.
little bit of a break anyway. But then the me being unprepared for the heat of OCC, it was definitely a forced rest. I wasn't planning on resting then.
Mm.
I had a few more races to do. If you know me, I love racing, so I try to sign up for as many races as possible, and that's kind of my my socialization is I don't get to see a lot of people out here. I don't. There's not much of a running community in my town. It's pretty much me and my wife,
Yeah.
just her and I out here running by ourselves. So actually getting to go out to races is our socialization. So pretty much sign up for races most of the year, besides the deep winter.
Mm. How have you learned to say no? I think for me it's really hard. Like once I've set my eyes on something or like I've signed up to a race, it becomes really hard not to go. Like I feel like once you have a standard, you don't want to fall short of
Mhm.
that goal. But then it becomes obvious that in some situations it's way more beneficial to say no and not do a race and just rest and recover instead of like forcing your body to do it. But I mean, for me, it's super hard all the time.
No, no, that it's really hard to say no, like especially if you're signing up for a race and like in a cool place, it's really hard to say no to. I was signed up for Run the Rut, which is an absolutely beautiful race in Montana,
Yeah.
uh, up this is that Lone Peak, I think it is. But
Yeah.
absolutely stunning, super cool race. I was going to do the VK and the 28K, and my body was just saying no. It was an easier decision for me this year because my body, literally, I would go for pretty much that first week and a half, 2 weeks after OCC. I would go run for like 30 minutes. And after 15 minutes, my body was like, all right, you need to stop. Um, so it was a pretty obvious, like, okay, if you
Okay.
keep moving, you're going to hurt yourself.
Hmm.
And that's not worth it. Health always comes before racing. So it was an easy decision there, but it is a tough decision when you do feel okay.
Mm. Yeah, I guess I was in a similar situation in July to mid-August, and I actually decided not to do a race that I was signed up to, which is kind of unusual for me, but I was feeling so bad that, I was like training at a bare minimum and then just trying to survive and like recover and rest. I actually did some blood tests and everything was fine, but I think it was just a lot of accumulated fatigue and efforts that I didn't properly recover from. But it's so hard to take a break in the middle of the season. I mean, I think it's one of the hardest because you see everyone racing and doing things and training hard, and you're there and you struggle to get through like a 30-minute run and it sucks.
No, it really does. But comparison is the thief of joy. Like at that
Mm,
point, you got to
yeah.
just do what's best for yourself. And I mean, if you take the time that you need when you need it, you can come back stronger. If you keep pushing, that's sometimes when it gets worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I learned it the hard way. Just like
We all have to learn it the hard way at least once or twice.
yeah, like a lot of things in running.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So then the question is, what is the next goal? I mean, I've heard rumors that you were signed up for JFK 50 mile that is happening this weekend in Maryland. We're 4 days out of race day and you're still at home. So I don't know, is it gonna happen?
It is going to happen. I'm headed out there
Oh, that's
on
awesome.
Thursday. Yeah, so that will be my longest ever race. Um, Ideally, if it goes really well and to plan, it'll actually be about the same time as OCC was.
Hmm. It's
So
true.
that's kind of like it's kind of funny. Like I'm looking at it like, oh, this is such a long race, but at the same time, it's going to be like the same ish time, ideally within like 5 minutes of OCC, right?
Hopefully. I mean, that would be a
Yeah.
pretty fast time, just like your OCC time. Very
Yeah, well,
fast.
I'm going like one of the reasons I picked JFK is like you look at the top 10 list. JFK does an awesome job of keeping track of like I think they have top 50 times
Yeah, I
of
love
all.
that when Race
Yeah.
keeps stats on the website. I think Chaconut and Lake Sonoma also have that, and
Oh,
it's so cool.
yeah. So yeah, since JFK did that, like I looked at the top 10 times and it's like pretty much the who's who of American or like North
Yeah.
American distance runners. And you like see like Hayden Hawks, Jim Walmsley, Adam Peterman, all these guys just like right at the top. You're like, I feel like if I want to be have my name up there with those guys, I gotta go put my name up there.
Oh
I
yeah,
gotta up there.
for sure. So who has the record now? Hayden? Is that
Hayden
right?
has, yeah.
And then second is Adam Peterman, and third is Jim.
Um, I think so. Somebody might be in front of Jim,
Hmm.
if I remember. But Hayden and Adam were up there really close.
Cool. I mean,
I think
yeah,
like 5:18 and 5:19, I think it was,
it's
if
gonna
I remember
be
correctly.
super interesting to see how you compare. But
It
yeah.
is a drastically different race than I've been training for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah. So
It'll be pretty.
how's your speed? Because I mean, it's a pretty fast race. I mean, for people who don't know, it's like it's a 50-mile distance, and the first half is like on the Appalachian Trail, and then the second half is basically like a road marathon, right? So
Yeah,
you
so
gotta have speed.
it's 15 miles of the Appalachian Trail, which is
Hmm.
pretty, I guess it's pretty gnarly footing. But then you get on this just like crushed gravel, beautiful tow path. and you just have a marathon on that, and then a little bit in the roads and stuff, just to finish it off. So pretty much my plan is to try to run like 550 pace per mile, which I guess I don't know what pace that is in Ks, 330.
340,
Yeah.
35, 40 per
Yeah.
kilometer, I think.
Yeah. So honestly, that's been the whole idea of the block. Like, I haven't really been that worried about the overall fitness. I figured coming after a big year of training, that hopefully will just kind of come back naturally. It's just been focusing on like, all right, let's get some leg speed back. I mean, back in the triathlon days, I used to be able to run 5 minute pace pretty comfortably, but haven't been doing that in a couple of years. So that's been a pretty drastic change.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I heard some people change from trail shoe to super shoe during the race. Are you gonna do that or like just use them like one
No, I
model?
think so. So that it was a big question of mine actually. So the Aggregate Speed Ultra, the
Yeah,
shoe pretty much I've raced every other race in this year, is such a fast shoe that I don't know if it's actually faster to put on like the Adios Pro 3, like the road
yeah.
super shoe. Um, I think I'm planning on doing it because I think I can, with like my, I think with my triathlon skills background, as if they're still there somehow, I
That's
think I can
right.
probably
Like the
do it.
transition, you're
Yeah,
quick.
I think I can do the transition in like 10 to 15 seconds. Like I think that's pretty quick. And if it can get me that 10 to 15 seconds, if it can get me over 10 to 15 seconds, it might be worth it. But I don't know if it's getting a whole lot more just because those other shoes are so fast. But I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I mean, yeah, you can check out the course a little bit and then make
Yeah.
your decision.
Yeah, I think the towpath itself is so smooth, and there's like it's not like thick gravel or anything. So I think it's just it'd be nice to have a road shoe on at that point. Get rid of the lugs. The road shoes are a little bit lighter. So I think that was my thought process of that is maybe 50 or 45 miles in, I'd be thankful for a lighter shoe.
Yeah. Yeah, in my experience, I mean, one of the things that I really remember from like long races, which for me are like 50 mile, I've done a 50-mile distance twice, is like the pain at my feet after like 40 miles. Like
Yeah.
after 40 miles, everything starts to hurt, but my feet are like really painful. So yeah, you want to be comfortable, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest goal. And like, I mean, that's the best part about the super shoes, right? Is that
Yeah.
that foam's so forgiving. So let's hope that my feet don't give out on me and I'm walking the last few miles like I did at OCC. That was
Yeah,
different reasons.
it was still
So
enough to win. Oh my gosh. We'll talk
just
about
great.
OCC.
You almost got me.
Man, so congrats. I mean, it's gonna be super interesting to see how you do, and I'm excited for you because yeah, I look up to you a lot, and I think we're similar in the races that we have chosen both last year and this year. I mean, we're similar athletes with similar strengths. Um, I'm sure you're gonna do like super well at the distance because I mean it's nothing new. To be honest, like your body doesn't know it's 50 mile. It all like it only knows it's five 5 hour something, you know. So that's what matters, and that's what you're prepared for.
Yeah, that's kind of the hope. I guess one of my biggest question marks is fueling while running that quickly,
Mm,
making sure that like the jostling is okay with my stomach. Because I mean, in training, I've gone up to a 30-mile run where I was running pretty quick, but that's a lot different than 50 miles. So I guess we'll see when after that 3 to 4 hour mark how the stomach is doing.
yeah,
That's my biggest question mark right now.
you'll be okay. I mean, you're used to it from your triathlon days also. So
I don't know. I could get away with barely fueling in those triathlons. So because I race those shorter distances, that I'd have like a single gel or two gels on the bike, and then you just make it through.
yeah, that's true. I mean, for the Olympic distance, I guess you definitely go under 2 hours for the
Mhm.
whole race. So yeah, it's pretty quick, even if fueling is still important. What do you I mean, I've always wanted to ask you about your triathlon background. What do you think is the biggest lesson that you're carrying over and applying to your own training now that you're a trail runner?
Um, Overall, like, and I think it's something that is kind of specific for me, is kind of just the aerobic volume that I can put in. So when I was training as a triathlete, I was doing, I say I could, I was training 30 to 35 hours a week. I don't know if I could actually absorb that type of training. I think I was kind of overtrained for a little while, especially like with new things that I figured out about my nutrition. Like, I think I do wonder how much more training I could have absorbed when I was doing triathlon if I was feeling like I am now. Like, I think I'm a significantly better athlete now, but uh, I think one of the biggest things is like I'm actually absorbing a lot of training, and like, and I can easily train 20 to 25 hours a week, and it doesn't feel like too much. I know, like, for a majority of people, like, that's sounds kind of ridiculous, but it's something that I think really does well for me personally. It's just lots of volume.
Cool. So yeah, um, I mean, 20 to 25 hours is still a lot by most people's
Yeah,
standards, but I mean, also,
it's not it's not 30 to 35 though, which is nice.
yeah, but it's just one sport, and like
Yeah,
running beats you up a lot more than cycling and swimming, obviously. So you gotta be careful.
absolutely.
Do you
Yeah, no,
still,
that usually what is limiting my volume is like aches and pains and
yeah.
niggles and stuff. So like I can only run so much because, again, like back to what we were saying earlier, health is the most important. So like I make sure that I try to stay as healthy as possible, and that's more important than getting a few extra hours in here per week.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think after a certain limit, the injury risk increases exponentially. So you want to stay like below that threshold, I think. Do you still cross train a lot? Like use the bike and I mean, I don't know if you still swim, but
I have not swam. So,
do you enjoy
now,
swimming or like
I really enjoyed open water swimming,
okay.
but the monotony of staring at the black line on the bottom of the pool, it gets to you after a few years, and I am still quite happy and still burned out of. I don't think I'm ready to go back to that anytime soon. Maybe sometime in the future, um, but I have not swam at all. Overall, like, during the winter, I do a lot of like skiing,
Mm.
living in a cold place. But I'll still get on the bike a little bit. Last year, I rode a lot more than I did this year. This year, I was trying to up the run volume a little bit more, seeing how my body handled that. But it's more of like when I need just something to go enjoy, like spend some time. I don't typically use it for fitness. At least this year, I didn't use it for just fitness.
Cool. Yeah. I've always admired swimmers who are like professional swimmers. They're able to swim like 5 to 10 miles a day, maybe. And like you're just staring at the bottom of the pool, and it's like, I don't know, for me, it would be impossible. Like you don't even get to look around and like
No,
being outside and you're wet. Oh my gosh, it's
no, it takes a special
terrible.
person for sure.
Yeah, so much admiration.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it broke me, so I couldn't do it mentally.
yeah. And what about the so I look at triathlon as a very professional sport. Like athletes tend to have a very professional approach. And I don't know, like I was watching the Ironman World Championship in Kona about a month ago, and I mean it's pretty clear that everyone is just very professional, like very high level, very like paying attention to all the details and nutrition and the bike, aerodynamics and swimsuit, all of that. And I think we're lacking a little bit this approach in trail running because I don't know, it's cool, like, but it's a lot more relaxed and kind of like a little bit like dirt bag and like free attitude and like people don't want to like sometimes they pretend they don't want to be very serious, but then they are serious about their training, you know. And I
Yeah.
think this attitude is preventing a little bit of growth or like we're not growing as fast as we could just because we have this fear that the professionalization of the sport is going to change the sport and then it will become something else or something that people don't like. But I think, I don't know, I've always seen examples in other sports, whether in cycling or triathlon, as positive ones, just because I think anytime we like try to raise the bar and increase the competitiveness of the sport, it's better for everyone. What do you think? And what do you like, how do you remember your triathlon days? Because I think you were at a pretty high level, right?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of like I think there's a happy medium with
Hmm.
professionalization of the sport. Like I think what people are worried about is trail running is such a cool thing that's you're in nature, you are a little bit more with nature, you're with the community, with all of that. Whereas like say doing triathlon, doing even track running, you travel around the world, you sit in your hotel room until your race, and then you go race and you don't talk to anybody before the race. So I think there's kind of a happy medium
Yeah.
of we need to keep the community aspect of it.
Oh, for sure.
I definitely think it's cool to take races seriously. Like it's cool to go all in, and I don't think that people should be afraid of and pretend that they're not all serious about it when they are, because it's a cool thing. And the further we push it, the I think there's a lot of growth to happen in this sport. So I don't know if that's a full answer, but like I would love to see a little bit more of like just people taking it a little bit more seriously, but somehow keeping the friendliness and the openness that is trail running, because that's something that drew me here is in triathlon there is that little bit of we're not friends until the end of the race type of
Mm.
thing. And like yeah, in mid race it's like I don't expect you to be super friendly whatever, like, but it's something like, and I want say like me and you in a race, I want you to be doing everything you can to destroy me, and I want to do everything I can to destroy you. Like it, and that's cool, but it's like you can do it in a friendly way. Like I just think there's a happy medium that we need to find, and we can keep pushing towards that and find it.
100%. I think, yeah, a lot of times we see this situation as like black or white, but it doesn't have to be black or white. Like we all love trail running because of the community, because of just the vibes are really cool. But that is not against being professional and
Right.
like doing what we do seriously, like at a high level, at the highest level we can. So yeah, I mean, I always try to get inspirations from other sports just because I think it's by looking in other directions that we grow and we learn. And it's a lot thanks to people like you who are coming from different backgrounds that the sport is moving forward and evolving and progressing. So yeah, this is what I think, and I definitely agree with you. Um, are you self-coached?
Yes. Yeah. So Tabor and I work together. Kind of, it's not just like I'm just kind of doing whatever willy nilly. It's kind of I have Tabor as a sounding board. She has me as a
Mm,
sounding board, and we work together to write kind of a basic gist of a plan, and then kind of day to day we're talking and changing things up as it goes. Um, yeah. So it's self coached, but also wife coached.
yeah, you need a like a supervisor to
I really need a
tell you
supervisor.
you're not doing too much.
I need a supervisor, yeah, to hold me back a little bit because
Yeah.
I would probably just I would do the wrong things too much. I would go run in the mountains for too many hours and probably skip my interval sessions.
How nerdy are you in your own training and planning?
I would say pretty nerdy. Yeah, it's something that I really enjoy spending time researching, looking into. Um, I've been having a really good time with it this last few years, just because it's. I came into trail running. It was kind of just like I even just like a little bit like what we talked about. It was I wasn't taking it that seriously at first, and it was just kind of like, oh well, I can just make up for it with being a little bit fitter, so I'll just train a little bit more. And I wasn't worried about the little things. I wasn't being anything near professional in the sport. I wasn't starting to download GPX things on my watches until this year. It was like I wasn't doing any of the little things. I was just trying to make up for it with being faster and being fitter.
Hmm.
Because I love the process of training and everything, and races were just kind of like those fun little vacations that we were doing. So yeah, I think it's something that I've been really enjoying now of getting a little bit nerdy with it.
Cool. Yeah, I think this is an attitude that a lot of people who are coming from other sports, whether that's triathlon or maybe track and road marathon, like they tend to underestimate. Like they see like the race finish time and like average pace of competitions and think, oh, trail runners are slow. But then if I
Not,
mean it's not true.
not at
Yeah,
all.
I mean speed is not the only relevant variable. There are definitely so many other factors that go into performance, but I mean it's like yeah, you can't underestimate the level that the sport is today, I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely. It's a wild sport, but even like when we first came into the sport, it was I thought we were just kind of drive around in a van around the U.S. and do some little races, rank tank things here, and then find some random jobs. Like I didn't plan on kind of living the lifestyle we are now.
Yeah, cool. What do you do besides running professionally? Like I know you live in a ranch in very remote area of Colorado and that you're also a coach. You have your own coaching business with Tabor. So how do you combine all those three things together?
Yeah, I think I do better sometimes than the other. It's kind of season to season what is busy at the time. We only take on so many athletes at a time because we can only take on so much. The ranch itself, yeah, like you said, my wife is a fifth generation rancher in the middle of Colorado. So I am technically a cowboy. Um,
That's
but that just
awesome.
means there's a lot of little like ranch chores and all this stuff that we have to do. And depending on the time of year, it's either pretty busy or pretty not busy. And luckily, during the summer, during the peak times of trail running, it's not that busy because I'm not the one that's sitting in the tractor haying. I'm doing the little jobs during the summer, so it's pretty easy for me. Um, so it's kind of just it's an evolving balance of trying to figure out what's the priority. Obviously, running comes uh, pretty high on that priority list. That's one of the first things that we do every day, and make sure that we get that in. And then pretty much the afternoon spent between coaching and time on the ranch.
Yeah. Is it more like a choice to have other occupations besides running, or is because like it's a necessity?
It was a little bit of both. Definitely coming into trail running, it was we our first year racing trails. We didn't really have much of an income. Obviously, like running contracts aren't something that just like take over your life and you just. It's not like you're in the NFL. You're in those big sports all of a sudden, oh yeah, like I'm set for life. It's cool. Like I can pay for the rest of my family for the rest of my life. It was one of those things. Like it started pretty low, and so we brought up the coaching. I was coaching before that, but we kind of grew the coaching business a little bit, and that let us travel a little bit because we were all remote. But we pretty much spent all of our money to go to races that first year because we didn't know which races to go to. And so last minute trips are very expensive because we'd get to a race, we'd race, and we're like, okay, where do we go next, guys? And our big trip that year was like Sears and all. And I think Tabor really got our name out there because she was like top 10 at Sears and all that first year. And so like that really got our foot in the door with Golden Trail, and like all it kind of went really quickly, but uh, yeah, a little bit of both necessity and it's something also I do really enjoy coaching because it's something that like again we live out in the middle of nowhere. We don't really see that many people, but I really want to be a part of the community, and it's something that I do spend too much time looking at research papers, figuring out what other athletes are doing. And I've had some awesome coaches myself, like, and I've learned so much from them. So if I can pass a little bit of that knowledge on, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. Also, it's also for building connections and just
Absolutely. Yeah.
staying,
That's some really awesome people.
yeah, staying in touch with the community. That's really cool. Yeah. And then I think, yeah, things build off one another once you start doing some races and achieving good results, and then maybe you start working with a brand. I mean, your career in trail running is still a young one. Like you have been in the sport just for, I think, 3 years, right?
Yep.
Just after
This is,
COVID.
yep.
So, I mean, it's been a pretty incredible trajectory, I
Oh,
think.
thanks. I do really think like triathlon set me up with such a good fitness base that it was good to come in with that. And then pretty much I've just spent this 3 years learning the intricacies, trying to nerd out about all the little things that go into trail running. And there is a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously your aerobic engine was there already. Like it was super developed, super, yeah, really high level, big engine. But then the skills and the adaptations that are required to perform on trails, that requires a little bit of work. So yeah,
Takes time.
I mean, it's definitely there now. Um, Before your triathlon days, triathlon years, um, how was your like middle to through high school career in terms of activities and sports? Like, how important do you think like the middle and high school sports are for an athlete's future career?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely coming from a little bit different standpoint. So I've done triathlon. My mom started a triathlon team when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
So I was in that sport forever. And before that, she had a swim team. She's been a swim coach longer than I've been alive. So I was always at the pool doing some sort of sports, and sports were always a huge part of my life. So like between I think it was fifth grade till my senior year of high school, I was homeschooled because we lived out the other side of Colorado that is also kind of barren, uh, kind of empty. And so it was easier just doing homeschooling there. And then so like again, sports were my socialization. That was my outing. That was how I get to see like and be a part of any kind of community. Um, so I mean that was huge in my development. But I think that's something that can go really far in like that's kind of how I learned about trail running is in high school. My high school cross country coach, he used to run the Leadville 100 every single year, and so he would take his varsity men, and they would pace him for the last 50 miles.
Oh
With
wow.
each
That's
sections.
so
So I've
cool.
paced over Hope Pass twice, and I've paced the last 20 miles once. And so like that was my introduction and like seeing like how cool that the community is here. And so like as soon as like Tabor had mentioned, like, we could probably do this. I was like, yep, I'm in. Let's go. I'm ready for trail running. I want to be a part of that.
That's awesome. I didn't know this story. That it's really cool. Yeah. I'm asking you this because people often ask me like how do you become a professional athlete? And I mean there is no answer to that. There is no, especially in running and trail running, there is no clear path from high school to college to your professional career in running. And I think it's always interesting to reflect on the different experiences of different athletes. So I'm
Yeah.
always curious to see what other athletes' backgrounds are and how
Right.
they spend their childhood and college and whatever. So yeah,
I think, especially with, I feel like trail running is such a young, like professionalized sport that here in a few years, it won't be a weird thing for, say, like you see a few American athletes that are coming through, like Mika, Anna Gibson, that are just like out of college. They're like, all right, let's go to trail running. Like they're phenomenal collegiate athletes, and then the next step is trail running. It's not the next step is road running or track running. They're not trying to. Well, I guess Anna is, but um, I think that that will become an option of a next step. I don't think that. I think as soon as this kind of, as soon as the sport continues to grow and people know that it's an option, I mean, what's not to love running in the woods, running
yeah,
out in the mountains? Like, I think it as soon as people know it's an option, that I think that'll become more popular. Of that's the next step after collegiate athletics.
yeah. This is a very interesting thought, and I'm not sure it's because people like athletes in college don't know that trail running is an option, or it is because they like underestimate the sport and the opportunities it can offer. Because
Mhm.
I mean, for an athlete that is at a decent level in college, I think, and of course, if you're passionate at trail running and good at it, I think the opportunities are a lot more in trail running than in track and road. Because unless you're like a superstar and like qualifying for the Olympics, realistically, you're not gonna make a ton of money or like make a great living in track and field or road running.
Mhm.
Um, and the level is so high. And this is not to say that in trail running is not as high, but there's probably more room for different athletes with different experiences to get involved just because there are so many races. Like there, it's not one sport. There are like, it's one sport, but many events from the
Yeah.
shorter distances to the 100 miler and beyond. So yeah, I'm not sure if people don't realize that there is this opportunity or they just think, oh, trail running is like, it's not cool. It's not as competitive. It's for people who are slow.
Right. No, and I think uh I think with time that'll come. Like more athletes are coming over and seeing like, wow, like it's not that you're running slow, it's that these trails are crazy. Um like and knowing like some of the trail athletes, like they're not slow one bit. Like even these a lot of these athletes are coming from that track background, and you see these like phenomenal PRs and all their times and you're like, wow, like these guys versus the guys that are coming like that just like live in the mountains and run up and down hills all day. Somehow they meet in the middle, and it's such an interesting thing. But I think that's going to change pretty soon. I think that's on its way to change, of the people underestimating sport.
Yeah, yeah. And I really like the example of Mika Bedouin-Rousseau or Anna Gibson, or I was talking to Lauren Gregory last week.
Yeah.
I mean, she was running low 15 in the 5K this year, and then she got second at the Golden Trail Series final. So it's pretty incredible, and she's just graduated from college, and yeah, what a great example of that.
Yeah, for sure. Like that, I think they're the way that people are going to actually understand. The people that are trying to like dabble in both, like an Alio, like a Lauren Gregory,
Yeah.
that are having success in both sports. And then like I know just at the Dirt Circus, they just had that it was a 10K,
Yeah.
and a Roadrunner came over and got third right behind Alio. Or no, not a Roadrunner. I can't think of her name. Tabor was telling me all about her. She knows her. She knows track a lot better than I do, but she's phenomenal, phenomenal steeplechaser. And she came and got right behind Alio, and like, oh wow, we
Gotta
still
check it
got to
out.
spread. Yeah, like it, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit just understanding. Like get people out to these races, and they'll learn quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I really try to pay attention to those athletes, but this name fly it under the radars. So I'm gonna look into it. Um, what is an advice that you would give to maybe a parent of a young kid or to a young kid himself, who is, I mean, I don't think it's good to like have the goal to become a professional athlete or to be at a certain level when you're young. You just have to do it because it's fun, just to, to be around people and because you enjoy it. But it is true at the same time that the adaptations that happen at a young age are important for your future. So you want to train and be guided by a coach that like has a vision for the future athlete that you can become. So what is an advice that you would give to those people?
Yeah, I mean, I think finding the right coach for that situation is such an important thing. Because you can't have a coach that's going to just I don't think that like say like Jakob Ingebrigtsen. I think that's a very specific case of like, okay, he's specialized early and he's like, okay, I'm gonna do this for this many years and I'm gonna be the best in the world. I think that's a pretty rare exception of like somebody that can make it through that type of thing. I
Very
think,
rare.
yeah, I think it needs to
Not a good
start out.
example. Not a good
No,
case
right. No,
study.
I think it needs to start out as something that's fun and somebody that a coach that can bring a lot of joy and entertainment and fun to a sport. And I think that makes it so, especially running can be a lifelong sport. You don't need to be a professional in it. Like it can be just something that you can be doing forever. And like that's kind of how I came at this sport of like I just want to do it forever. If I get paid for it for a little while, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But if not, I'm still going to be doing it. Um, I think so. The biggest thing is like make sure you find a coach that is going to make it enjoyable and look at the long term process of not like you're not going to be you shouldn't be a professional athlete in high school.
Oh yeah,
You
for
want to
sure.
be a professional athlete when your body is developed enough in and it's actually ready to take on professional athletics. Like it's a big toll that it takes on your body, and I don't think a growing body should be going under all of that. So I think it just a coach that's very patient and that's willing to have fun with it.
Yeah, is willing to not chase immediate success, but really look at the long-term growth. And also
Yeah.
like I think just seeing the fact that you can become a professional athlete as a byproduct of this process, because the goal should be just to be the best that you can and just enjoy the sport and live different experiences. And then yeah, if you get a contract with a brand, that's awesome. But if not, I mean, your
Find it.
value as an athlete is not defined by the fact that you're a pro or not. So it's
Exactly.
equally fun, I think.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah. Man, let's talk about your 2024 because I mean, it's been an amazing year for kind of both of us. I mean, the only race we did together, you beat me, but it was yeah, it was really good. It was I think equally good for me and for you. I think you won all the races but one. Uh, the Broken
So
Arrow 23 kilometer where you finished second to Patrick Kipngeno.
yeah.
and you
The
beat
VK.
Philemon Kiriago, who is of course, the Sierzinal runner-up behind Kilian and the second fastest time ever in that race. So that gives a measure of how deep, how competitive that race was. But then every other race, every other, especially every other 50K that you competed in, you won. So maybe what I wanted to ask you, besides the specific races, which we may get into, what was the original plan for this season? Like, how do you plan the season? Do you have race goals or more like process oriented goals? Like, I want to, I don't know, like for me, this year was a lot about combining long efforts like ultras, like short ultras, 50K to 50-mile distance with short distance, like intensity and like being a good climber, basically,
Okay.
while
Yeah.
maintaining the ability to run long. What was
Yeah.
it like for you? Like, how did you plan your 2024?
Yeah. So, kind of going into 2024, I had one main goal, and that was OCC.
Mhm.
And that I wanted to go throw my hat in the ring for a win there. Like that was my ultimate thing. Was like, okay, like I'm gonna pick one race. I think the last couple years, Tabor and I kind of tried to just do every race here and there, and like kind of muddled things. And I wanted to try just doing like, okay, I'm gonna be kind of laser focused here on getting everything ready for OCC. So early season, that was a little bit of I hadn't raced that many 50Ks or in longer races yet. So making sure that my nutrition was going. So I did a few races as just training races, just getting ready, like figuring out like, okay, what works, what doesn't work. Um, Kind of over the winter, I'm kind of a little bit forced. I, here, how about this? I look at the season as a grouping of short seasons. Of winter was kind of like getting a little bit of leg speed, kind of making sure that I'm a quick runner, and that's a little bit forced by uh, being the winter. I'm running on a treadmill, so like that's pretty much what I can do is like to keep things entertaining. I run fast on the treadmill, do short intervals, but then building. We did a couple just straight off of that, off of winter season. That's when I did those first few 50Ks. Just figure that out, do whatever, and then as the winter changed into spring, that's when we kind of started into all right, let's remember how to climb. Let's remember how to do all the descending, all of the technical bits, and that was the build towards Broken Arrow.
Mhm.
So there were a lot of races in between there, but those were all kind of just training races. The first time I took any rest last this year was right before Broken Arrow, and that was as a test to see if how my body reacts to a taper for getting ready for OCC. So I
How
didn't
was
want
it?
to. It was okay. I definitely rested a little bit more than I thought I did, and the VK was absolute trash.
Hmm.
I felt so terrible on the VK, but then as soon as the VK was over, sorry, Willow, stop. That,
It's
sorry,
okay. It's cool.
come here. This is Willow.
Oh yeah, I will.
So we actually figured out that after the VK kind of blew out the carbon out of the system, and the 23K felt amazing. So kind of figured out I can rest that much, but I need something like just to really blow out the carbon, get the legs not feeling stale. And so that's what we did before OCC as well. Is like we did, not obviously not a VK, but we did just like a 20-minute hard effort a few days out, but we did have a good rest before, a big rest period before. So the body was fresh, but I think the amount of efforts and everything that we do throughout the year, my body wanted it was just kind of in a panic mode uh, of what rest was, and like I'm not sure what to do here anymore. So I think
Mhm.
I got a little bit overzealous with that taper. Um, so, and then after Broken Arrow, where it was just kind of, we were doing more vert, shorter, faster stuff, then it was just the build towards OCC. And pretty much with that, we just kind of elongated, spending more time. I knew that that was going to be my longest race time wise ever. So that was kind of the big worry of, let's make sure we know that we're fast now. We know that we can climb. We know that we can descend. The technical bits are there. Now we just need to be able to handle the time and the distance. So went speed to low mountainous, then to longer mountainous before OCC.
Yeah, it's lots of interesting things, but I think one key takeaway is that, I mean, it's very clear that quality comes first, like speed and the ability to climb, and then you can extend those qualities to run longer. But it's really important to start from the quality of training if you want to perform and actually run fast. And then I think another interesting thing is what you mentioned about the tapering, about your body being in like panic mode because yeah, it like when you're tapering, your routine is not the same as when you're training hard and doing like 20 to 25 hours a week and maybe like doubling, you're resting a lot more. I think the danger is that your body, like you're not as efficient and sharp as you could be. I mean, fitness
Mhm.
is there, but it's like hidden behind something. Um, so like, would you suggest to like, I mean, I know it's specific for different athletes, but how many days would you do the last hard session before a race? What was the strategy before Broken Arrow and before OCC?
So Broken Arrow was kind of forced with
Oh
the
yeah,
VK.
true.
It was VK on Friday, 23K on Sunday. So I had a full day of rest in there. But for OCC, we did 2 days in between. So we did whatever day that was. Uh,
So
two,
Monday, the last
yeah,
hard session, and
yeah, yeah.
then Thursday, the
And
race.
yeah, and we did a couple strides in between there, but nothing much. But it was mainly that Monday effort, and then had 2 days in between.
Was it like 50K type of effort or more like threshold, like
No, like
above
threshold.
threshold
Yeah,
work?
threshold like above. Yeah.
Well, yeah, interesting. Um, Another thing that I wanted to ask you about the winter training block. So I think you did Black Canyon 60K, which you won, and then the Big Alta, which you also won in front of Matt Daniels. Um, when we are far from the racing season, uh, what are the stimuli that are important to keep? Because of course you still want to train. Of course you still want to do like volume and aerobic training, but you also don't want to burn yourself and push too much. So what does it look like in practice for you?
Yeah. So kind of over the winter, I was mostly focused on we kind of learned this, that we were getting slow throughout the way that we were doing our trail running. I don't think you have to become slow with trail running, but the way that we were doing it, we were getting slow. So our goal over this last winter was getting fast, and I think we're going to do the same thing this winter. I think that worked out really well. But I think we're going to step even more into it this year, of getting leg speed, kind of becoming the fastest runner we can be, kind of having long aerobic days on skis. That's really something that I really enjoy doing. And that's a big mental switch up for me. Like, I think a lot of what gets people in ruts is the mental, just like monotonous day after day doing the exact same thing. So I think like finding something else that changes it up a little bit. So like for me, it's skiing, and we will do big a lot long aerobic days there, but then we'll just do short, fast, intense treadmill workouts throughout the winter to make sure that we're getting that leg speed back, and getting fast is kind of the main goal there.
Cool. Yeah, interesting. Um, I also wanted to ask you, you mentioned that last year, for example, you were kind of going from a race to another, not without having a plan, but like I think being less intentional about your goals and your planning, your training, and the fact that you've been a lot more specific and professional this year has definitely allowed you to step up one level or maybe two. Um, how big of an impact was the fact that you went from being sponsored by Salomon to Adidas?
Um, I think it was kind of just, I think that was overall just, Adidas just kind of was something that fit us a little bit better. That group, it was just something that it was easier for us to flow with the way they do things. I again, I still think Solomon as the first people that took a bet on us. And so like they were the first ones, and I will always be so thankful for that. But there's just a, a better opportunity for both of us. And we just vibed with the team so well, and we could learn so much from the team. And so I think that was a huge part of it. But it just also was at the same time that we were going through the epiphany of, okay, like we should start taking this a little bit more seriously, and we should start going things the right way, doing the small things. So I think that was definitely a contributing factor of just happiness and less stress.
Yeah. And then, yeah, of course, not the only reason, but maybe other things aligning at the right time that encouraged you in this direction that turned out to be very positive for you. Yeah. Um, you also this year you kind of left the Golden Trail series, which is maybe what gave you notoriety last year. You had some really good result in the Golden Trail in 2023. Do you plan to go back and do any races of the Golden Trail series? Does the circuit still attract you?
Yeah, I think the circles it still attracts me. I love the Fast and Furious racing. I do think I'm more suited towards a little bit longer stuff. Currently in my in my career, it's kind of been the longer I go, the better it gets for me. And I am curious on where if that ever stops. Um, so I want to try some longer stuff. And again, like the reason that I'm doing trail running is not necessarily just for winning races, for having any notoriety. Like that's not, I'm not really into the notoriety.
Yeah,
Um, I, I really want to just go have fun. I want to do things that I'm enjoying. And like, so, uh, I think I'm going to try some different things. And like this year was kind of that first step of like, all right, I'm going to try some different things. But I absolutely want to go back and race those guys. Like
yeah,
watching on from those live streams, I'm like, they are going so fast. It's like absolutely mind blowing, and I want to go do it again. But I'm going to try out some different races as well.
yeah. I think we are very similar in this. Like, it's so fun to try new things, but then when you're like at home and watching those races on the live stream, you think, oh my gosh, it's so cool. Like I want to be there. So there is definitely a lot of FOMO.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was one of the things about OCC that we found is we watched we watched UTMB week last year on the live stream because we weren't there and we were just doing the Golden Trail series.
Yeah,
And we just were like, oh my gosh, we need to be there. Why is everyone there? And we didn't know that everyone was going to be there. It's so fun. Um, so, yeah, FOMO is a big part of our race schedule.
I mean, the sport is big enough to keep us curious and to always allow to us to try new things. So we shouldn't put away this feeling. This I think it's to be guided by curiosity is very positive, and we shouldn't be afraid to try new things. This applies at any level, whether you're a pro or not. So yeah, just like you said, be guided by curiosity and not being afraid to try new things and to fail because it's part of the process.
No, that's the best part. Like I absolutely love going to races and just getting my teeth kicked in, because then I can learn about what I need to do if I can do anything to help that. Um, and I think that's one of the best ways to become the best version of you is to fail.
Yeah, agree. Man, I'm gonna let you go. But yeah, I'm super excited to follow you at JFK and to see what you can do. And all the best for the travel, the race, and the experience. I can't wait to connect again.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you.